rename your document. So you're going to do last name, comma, first name, raw food cost. So I'm going to copy that, paste it at the top, change it to your last name. So I'm putting Cravens, and then comma, Deanna, you put your first name, and then raw food cost. Once you have done that, delete out that green. Okay, now from here, please place your menu item name. So for mine, that is chocolate cupcakes. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to list your ingredients. So I want you to find your recipe or your Better Buy, whichever one you can look at, and you're going to list your ingredients. So I'm going to show you on my raw food cost right here. All of my ingredients are already listed. Next, what you're going to do is write down your unit price. You get that from your Better Buy. So right over here, my Better Buy, right here, this that says unit price, I'm going to write all of those down. So you can see that those match right here, and I included, if it was talking about per pound, per ounce, per egg, make sure you include that because that's going to be important in a second when we're talking about conversions. Next is the amount needed for each recipe. So you need to go back to your recipe card. And so for instance, I needed 1 1/4 cups of flour. So on my completed one, instead of doing fractions, I chose to do decimals. So I changed 1/4 to that 0.25. So I needed 1.25 cups of flour. And then you need to fill that in for how much you need for your particular recipe. Now from there, you might need to do some conversions because if your unit price does not match, for instance, right here, I was talking about buying flour in pounds, but I only need cups. So we have different units. So what you might have to do is research on, you can use Google for that, on how many cups of flour are in 1 pound. So I'm going to do that. How many cups of flour are in 1 pound? Okay, so depending on, you can get some different answers, so you might have to research a little bit. For mine, it is usually 4. So 4 cups is about 1 pound of flour. And so I am now going to convert that. So we can think about setting up those equivalent ratios. I'm going to take these conversions and I'm going to make them into the ratios. So 4 cups to 1 pound. So I'm going to set up my ratio. So this is 4 cups and this is over 1 pound. Now I'm going to set that equal to, in my particular recipe, I needed 1.25 cups. So I'm going to line that up. Cups was in the numerator, so I have 1.25 cups. And then I'm solving for how many pounds I need, so I know how much it's going to cost. So I'm just going to call it X. Then from there, we cross multiply. So now we do 4 times X, and then equals, and then we have 1 times 1.25. Then from there we are solving, so 1 times 1.25 is just going to leave us with 1.25. We solve for X, so if we are multiplying both sides by 4, that means we need to divide both sides by 4. So when I have that, it'll be X equals, and then 1.25 divided by 4. And so when I divide it by 4, I get X equals 0.3125. And so that is how many pounds of flour I would need for my recipe. So when you see on your completed one, right here, I need 0.3125 pounds. That is where I got that number because I set up ratios. Now this part you do not have to do in the computer. I was just showing you so that we could see it. That you can do on paper, and then you can staple it, or you can turn it in. So you're going to do this for each. Then you're going to figure out the cost. So now that I know how many pounds and I know the cost per pound, I simply multiply those together. And so I got flour, it would cost me 14 cents in the recipe. And so you're going to do that for every single one of your ingredients. At the very end, you're going to add that last column to get the whole raw food cost for your entire recipe. So you can see I added 14 cents plus the 0.004. I'm adding all of these numbers, and I got a total of $16.28 for the entire recipe. Now from there, we need to figure out the raw food cost for one serving. So you're going to take the raw food cost for the whole recipe, so that was at $16.28, and you're going to divide it by the total number of servings that yours makes. So for mine in particular, one recipe makes 24 cupcakes. So I'm taking the $16.28 and dividing it by 24. So that means it cost me about 68 cents per cupcake. And so I'm going to fill that in down here for the raw food cost for one serving.